1. Jack Molinas. Jack Molinas was a talented college star whose involvement in gambling and point shaving during the early 1950s shocked basketball. Accused of fixing games and influencing teammates to throw contests, Molinas was declared ineligible by the NCAA and later banned from the NBA in 1954. His actions triggered one of the first major integrity scandals in the sport, prompting leagues to tighten rules and oversight. Though Molinas maintained some defenders, the evidence and resulting suspicions ruined his professional prospects. His case remains a cautionary tale about gambling's corrosive effect on athletes, teams, and the game's reputation. 2. Roger Brown. Roger Brown was connected to the Jack Molinas point shaving scandal and suffered the consequences, despite being a gifted player. Brown's association with gambling figures led to suspicions that cost him NBA opportunities, pushing him instead to the ABA, where he excelled with the Indiana Pacers. In the ABA, Brown became an all-star and key contributor to championship teams, proving his talent despite earlier setbacks. His career highlights show how bans and blacklisting in one league can redirect a player's path. Brown's story underscores the complex fallout from gambling scandals and how redemption sometimes came elsewhere rather than through the NBA. 3. Doug Moe. Doug Moe's early career was disrupted by ties to gambling investigations connected to the Jack Molinas era, affecting his NBA playing chances. Moe later reinvented himself as a coach and strategist, becoming renowned for a high-scoring offensive style in the NBA. While his playing dreams were curtailed by the scandal, his coaching career flourished, most notably with the Denver Nuggets, where he led exciting, offense-first teams and earned Coach of the Year honors. Moe's journey shows how early bans or suspicions can shift a basketball life from player to influential coach, leaving a complicated yet impactful legacy in league history. 4. Connie Hawkins. Connie Hawkins was a dazzling high-flying talent whose early career was destroyed by association with a point-shaving ring he never joined. Suspended in 1961 and effectively blacklisted, Hawkins spent years playing in other leagues and barnstorming, until he successfully sued for reinstatement. In 1969, he finally joined the Phoenix Suns and quickly proved his ability with acrobatic moves and strong scoring, earning All-Star honors. His legal victory forced the NBA to confront wrongdoing in its blacklist practices and opened the door for compensation and recognition. Hawkins' story is both tragic and triumphant, a landmark for justice in professional sports. 5. Sherman White. Sherman White was another star caught up in a 1950s point-shaving scandal that wrecked a promising career. Once a standout college player expected to enter the professional ranks, White's implication in game fixing led to criminal charges and a lifetime ban from the NBA. The scandal underscored the vulnerability of college and pro basketball to match fixing at the time and prompted stricter penalties and monitoring. White's ban remains one of the earliest examples of how off-court criminal behavior ends athletic dreams and serves as a grim precedent that still resonates with integrity policies in modern sports and professional leagues. 6. Eddie Johnson. Eddie Johnson's name has been used by multiple players, but one Eddie Johnson faced permanent banishment after legal troubles and repeated violations in the 1970s and 1980s. Known for flashes of talent, yet plagued by off-court issues, his career ended in shame when league authorities enforced a strict stance against criminal behavior and substance problems. Johnson's termination from professional play highlighted the NBA's evolving policy to protect its image and players by enforcing harsh discipline. His story is a reminder that ability on the court cannot shield someone from the consequences of illegal or reckless choices in professional life. 7. Roy Tarpley. Roy Tarpley was a gifted power forward for the Dallas Mavericks, whose career unraveled because of substance abuse. He won the Sixth Man of the Year award and showed all-star potential before repeated violations of the NBA drug policy led to extended suspensions and eventual banishment in the mid-1990s. Tarpley struggled with alcoholism and mental health issues, factors that complicated his attempts to return. His decline sparked conversations about player support, addiction treatment, and the league's role in rehabilitation. Tarpley's tragic arc is often cited as a missed opportunity where talent was overshadowed by unmanaged demons and harsh consequences. 8. Chris Washburn. Chris Washburn arrived as the third overall pick in 1986 with enormous expectations that collapsed amid drug problems and off-court troubles. Washburn's repeated violations of the NBA's substance policy, combined with financial and legal difficulties, led to a ban that derailed his promising career. Once a dominant college center, he could not translate potential into a sustained professional presence because addiction and external pressures overtook performance. His fall served as a high-profile cautionary tale and affected how teams evaluated character and support systems for incoming rookies, emphasizing the need for stronger interventions when early warning signs appear in athletes. 9. Michael Ray Richardson. Michael Ray Richardson was a versatile guard and four-time NBA All-Star whose career peaked before a ban for violating the league's drug policy in 1986. Richardson's court intelligence and defensive prowess made him a standout, but off-court substance issues forced the league to suspend him. His absence deprived basketball fans of a top playmaker and highlighted the era's struggle with recreational drugs among athletes. Richardson later played overseas and had partial comebacks, but the ban marked a turning point. His story prompted stronger drug testing and rehabilitation attempts, showing how personal issues can drastically alter even elite basketball careers. 10. Stanley Roberts. Stanley Roberts was a talented center with immense physical gifts whose NBA path was repeatedly interrupted by drug policy violations and conditioning concerns. Drafted with high hopes, Roberts displayed the size and skills to dominate, but injuries, inconsistent effort, and substance issues led to multiple suspensions that prevented a stable career. His history shows how off-court problems and health mismanagement can derail talent that might otherwise have become franchise-defining. Roberts tried comebacks in different leagues but never regained his initial potential. His narrative contributes to the league's ongoing focus on player health, accountability, and structured support for young athletes. 11. Tyrone Nesby. Tyrone Nesby showed early promise as a scorer and defender in the NBA before off-court problems and suspensions for marijuana usage and policy violations shortened his top-level career. Nesby's athleticism and tenacity could have anchored a longer rotation role, but repeated disciplinary issues made teams wary of long-term investment. After leaving the NBA, he played overseas and in other domestic leagues, finding steady playing chances, but not the stability expected from his rookie burst. Nesby's case reflects how modern teams weigh reliability as much as raw talent, and how league rules can shape roster decisions and overall career longevity. 12. Mitchell Wiggins. Mitchell Wiggins, father of NBA star Andrew Wiggins, was a gifted wing whose career was derailed by a 2-year suspension for cocaine use in the late 1980s. A promising scorer and athlete, Wiggins' ban removed him from the league at a crucial development stage and hindered his ability to sustain a high-level career. Despite attempts to return, the stigma and lost seasons reduced his professional impact. Wiggins' story is often cited when families and teams discuss support networks and the long-term consequences of addiction. It underscores how off-court choices can influence not only careers, but also generational legacies. 13. Lewis Lloyd. Lewis Lloyd was a hard-nosed scorer whose career in the 1980s was dramatically affected by drug-related suspensions. Known for his gritty play and offensive touch, Lloyd faced disciplinary action that resulted in significant time away from the court and damage to his professional trajectory. His ban came during a period when the NBA cracked down on drugs, reflecting broader societal efforts to address substance abuse. Lloyd's experience is a stark reminder of how talent can be overshadowed by addiction and the limits of second chances when repeated violations compound consequences for both the player and their franchise. 14. John Drew. John Drew was a talented scoring forward whose career was cut short after becoming the first player banned under the NBA's toughest anti-drug policy in the 1980s. Drew's scoring ability and physical presence made him an asset, but chronic cocaine addiction and legal problems led to his permanent exclusion. The league's hard line aimed to deter substance use, but Drew's fall also highlighted the need for treatment options and better player care. His life after basketball included struggles and attempts at recovery, making his story both a warning and a plea for more compassionate systems that combine discipline with rehabilitation. 15. Chris Herron. Chris Herron never enjoyed a long NBA career, despite enormous basketball talent. Instead, his life became an outspoken crusade against addiction. Herron struggled with heroin and prescription drugs, leading to stints away from basketball and multiple attempts at comebacks that ultimately failed at the NBA level. Instead of anonymity, Herron turned his experience into public advocacy, sharing raw details in talks and a memoir that aimed to prevent others from following his path. His honesty and recovery work have been lauded as an example of transformation. Herron's story shows that bans and failures can lead to meaningful influence beyond basketball. 16. Ron Artest, Meta World Peace. Ron Artest, later known as Meta World Peace, remains infamous for his role in the 2004 Malice at the Palace brawl that led to an 86-game suspension, one of the toughest in NBA history. Artest's fierce defense and physicality were overshadowed by the on-court riot that involved fans. The suspension, fines, and legal fallout forced him to confront anger management and rebrand his image. Over time, he grew into a more measured figure, embraced mental health advocacy, and even won a championship with the Lakers. Artest's arc from villain to rehabilitated veteran is a complex tale of consequences and redemption. 17. Stephen Jackson. Stephen Jackson was a central figure in the Malice at the Palace incident, whose aggressive involvement earned a 30-game suspension and heavy public scrutiny. Jackson's loyalty to teammates during the riot and propensity for confrontation highlighted how emotions can explode in high-pressure environments. Though the suspension damaged his reputation, Jackson continued his career, becoming a veteran leader and vocal personality. He later engaged in community work and spoke about the incident's lessons, arguing for better security and player conduct training. His experience illuminates how a single chaotic night can alter careers and prompt broader reforms across the entire NBA. 18. Jermaine O'Neal. Jermaine O'Neal, a multiple-time All-Star, received a 25-game suspension after being involved in the 2004 Malice at the Palace brawl, a rare and severe punishment for a star player. O'Neal's involvement shocked fans because of his stature and leadership role with the Pacers. The suspension cost him prime playing time and contributed to roster and reputation shifts. Still, O'Neal recovered to continue as a productive NBA center for several seasons, showing resilience. His experience exposed how even elite players face harsh consequences for misconduct, reinforcing the league's commitment to safety, accountability, and professionalism during volatile, high-stakes moments. 19. Latrell Sprewell. Latrell Sprewell shocked the sports world when he choked his coach P.J. Carlesimo during a 1997 practice, resulting in a 68-game suspension and effectively ending his peak with the Golden State Warriors. Sprewell, a talented scorer and competitor, faced public backlash and lost contracts as teams feared liability and image damage. Though he later returned to play and had solid seasons, the suspension marked a career turning point and prompted broader conversations about player behavior, coaching relationships, and workplace boundaries in professional sports. Sprewell's saga remains a stark lesson about how one violent act can eclipse athletic accomplishments entirely. 20. Kermit Washington. Kermit Washington was a rugged forward whose punch in 1977 changed NBA history and his career. During a brawl, he struck Rudy Tomjanovich, causing severe injury and widespread condemnation. The league suspended Washington for 26 games and imposed heavy fines, while public outrage and legal scrutiny followed. Though Washington returned to play, the incident haunted him and altered safety protocols, media coverage, and on-court conduct discussions. The episode led to stricter officiating and a new focus on preventing escalations between players and fans, leaving Washington a cautionary figure about the devastating cost of losing control during high-intensity competition. 21. Gilbert Arenas. Gilbert Arenas, once known as Agent Zero, was suspended for 50 games in 2010 after bringing guns into the Washington Wizards locker room during a dispute with teammate Javaris Crittenton. The bizarre and dangerous incident shocked the NBA and led to harsh consequences, stripping Arenas of his superstar image. Once beloved for clutch shooting and eccentric personality, Arenas' career never recovered after the suspension. Though he later admitted mistakes and attempted to rebuild his brand, the episode remains one of the most infamous off-court scandals in league history, illustrating how reckless decisions can completely derail a promising basketball legacy. 22. Javaris Crittenton. Javaris Crittenton is remembered less for basketball and more for scandals. Drafted with promise, his career collapsed after the infamous 2009 locker room gun incident with Gilbert Arenas, leading to a year-long suspension. Later, his off-court troubles escalated when he was charged with gang involvement and eventually convicted of manslaughter, sentencing him to prison. Crittenton's downfall stands as one of the darkest in NBA history, transforming a once promising guard into a cautionary example about choices, environment, and wasted potential. His story represents a stark reminder that discipline alone is not enough. Players' lives outside the court shape their ultimate legacies. 23. O.J. Mayo. O.J. Mayo, once hailed as a can't-miss prospect, saw his career implode after violating the NBA's anti-drug policy in 2016. Already dealing with inconsistent play and declining roles, the suspension banned him from the league for 2 years, effectively ending his NBA journey. While Mayo later sought opportunities overseas, he never regained his reputation as a star talent. His case symbolizes how discipline for substance violations can end careers prematurely, regardless of potential. Fans and analysts still view Mayo's fall as a missed opportunity, one where questionable decisions and lack of development erased what should have been long-term success. 24. Tyreke Evans. Tyreke Evans, 2010 Rookie of the Year, seemed destined for a bright career before his 2019 suspension for violating the NBA's drug program. Once known for dynamic drives and versatility, Evans's production slowed after injuries and inconsistent roles. The suspension banned him for 2 years, stripping him of valuable career momentum. Though reinstated later, he never returned to prominence in the league, leaving fans disappointed in his lost potential. Evans' suspension underscores the unforgiving nature of NBA discipline. Even celebrated young stars face strict consequences. His case serves as a reminder of how fast opportunities can vanish in professional sports. 25. Chris Anderson. Birdman. Chris Birdman Anderson, beloved for his tattoos, energy, and shot blocking, faced a 2-year ban in 2006 for violating the NBA's substance abuse policy. At the time, Anderson was carving a role as a fan favorite in Denver, but the suspension derailed his progress. Remarkably, he returned stronger, reinventing himself as a defensive anchor and winning a championship with the Miami Heat in 2013. His redemption arc stands out among banned players, showing resilience and determination. Anderson's case highlights how discipline can be a turning point. Rather than ending his career, it propelled him toward maturity and eventual basketball redemption at 26. Cliff Robinson. Cliff Robinson, a versatile forward and one-time All-Star, became notorious for repeated marijuana suspensions during the early 2000s. Though widely respected as a durable and effective player, his off-court choices clashed with the NBA's strict drug policy at the time, resulting in fines and games missed. Robinson's suspensions didn't end his career outright, but tarnished his reputation and limited his opportunities late in his playing days. Ironically, Robinson later became an advocate for legalized cannabis, reframing his story as one of cultural and policy change. His experience shows how shifting societal attitudes can alter perceptions of past disciplinary actions. 27. Keon Clark. Keon Clark was a talented shot-blocking big man whose career was cut short by substance abuse and personal struggles. Despite showing promise as a rim protector and athletic forward, Clark battled alcoholism, missing practices, and violating NBA rules. His issues eventually led to suspensions and an abrupt end to his career. After basketball, Clark faced further challenges with legal troubles, reinforcing the struggles he faced in managing off-court life. His story exemplifies wasted potential, where natural ability couldn't overcome personal demons. Clark's legacy serves as both a warning and a push for better support systems to help struggling athletes. 28. Donta Smith. Donta Smith had a brief NBA stint, entering the league with potential as a versatile forward. However, repeated issues with discipline, maturity, and off-court behavior prevented him from solidifying a role. Violations of team and league policies limited his opportunities, and he eventually moved overseas, where he found more stability in international leagues. Smith's time in the NBA remains a case study of how raw talent and athleticism mean little without discipline and professionalism. Though not as infamous as others on this list, his exit from the NBA highlights how quickly chances vanish for players who fail to adapt. 29. Eddie Griffin. Eddie Griffin was a top prospect, drafted in 2001, admired for his athleticism and shot-blocking ability. However, his NBA career spiraled due to alcoholism, substance abuse, and repeated off-court incidents. Suspensions and erratic behavior ended his time in the league prematurely. Griffin's tragic death in 2007 in a car accident linked to intoxication shocked fans and players alike. His story is one of wasted potential and tragedy, illustrating how off-court struggles can eclipse even immense basketball ability. Griffin's legacy is remembered as both heartbreaking and cautionary, underlining the importance of player support networks and mental health resources in sports. 30. Javaris Crit Tenton. Post-NBA life. Though already mentioned for the gun incident, Javaris Crit Tenton deserves a second entry for how far his downfall extended beyond basketball. After leaving the NBA, he became entangled in crime and gang activity, culminating in a conviction for manslaughter in 2015. Sentenced to over 2 decades in prison, his life represents one of the most devastating falls in professional sports history. What began as a promising NBA career ended in violence and tragedy. His story is often referenced as the ultimate cautionary tale about choices, environments, and how quickly opportunity can turn into catastrophe when discipline completely collapses.